If you guys don't know me, I'm Melissa Oden with the Abortion Survivors Network. We are having a panel later today, which we're grateful to be following our friends here. And if you don't know what we do at the Abortion Survivors Network, we are babies who survived abortion attempts. And so you met many of them at our table today, and I thank you for greeting them and allowing them to be a part of what all of you do in your various ministries. You know, I'm so grateful to be introducing this panel today, obviously, with Abby, who is a friend of mine, and many former clinic workers who I have been honored to get to know. And I hope you guys think about this, what it's like to have a baby who survived an abortion attempt introduce a panel of former clinic workers. Think about that for a minute. This is what we talk about when we talk about being pro-woman, pro-child, and pro-love. We see one another's humanity, we care about one another, we champion one another, and we work together. So I know you'll be blessed with what they have to share with you today. So we'll get right to it. This quitters panel is what's really happening inside the doors of the abortion clinics. So we are honored today to have Carolyn Straczynski, board-certified women's health nurse practitioner, Creighton nurse practitioner, and Creighton fertility care practitioner with us. We also have Kara German, right? Right? The CareNet Center. We also have Lupita Aguilar with Birth Choice of Temecula. Then we have Myra Rodriguez. It's like I've been speaking all week. A Planned Parenthood whistleblower, and then, of course, Abby Johnson with And Then There Were None and Pro-Love Ministries. So please welcome them today, and I know you'll be blessed by what they share.
Thank you. All right, guys. Well, howdy. Thank you for being here and packing this place out. We need to be on the main stage next year, right? In a breakout? Yeah? Okay, yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah, we'll make that happen. Okay, so I'm Abby Johnson. So thankful to be here with all of you. And, well, we need to be louder than that. Yay! Welcome to be here! Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Suck it next door. Okay. All right. So we have all these amazing women up here, and I want them just to. We want to hear from you because we recognize that there's probably not a whole lot of opportunities you have to ask 5 former abortion workers your burning questions about the abortion industry. So we do want to hear from you. We do want you to be able to ask questions. But we also want to introduce ourselves to you. You know me, so I'm not going to really talk. But let's just kind of go down the line. Let's tell a little bit about ourselves, where we worked, who we are, how long we worked there, that kind of stuff. Y'all know the drill. So Myra, you want to go first?
Sure. Is this on? Yes. How you doing, guys? My name is Myra Rodriguez. Former Planned Parenthood director from the state of Arizona. I worked for them for 17 years. In my last year employed by them, I directed the biggest abortion center in Arizona, Glendale. And I blew the whistle on a lot of the deficiencies that were happening in the center. They didn't like that. I was let go. So I started a lawsuit, a wrongful termination lawsuit under the Whistleblower Protection Act in the state of Arizona, and we actually won. So we beat Planned Parenthood. Thank you. And now I'm here because I strongly believe, just like Melissa said, that this side needs to see the former abortion. Yeah, let's do it all over again, guys. Woo! Yeah. This is a contest of who can scream the loudest. So I strongly believe that this is the side that does not dehumanize the other humans, and that is part of the abortion industry, right? Not dehumanizing the abortion worker, but actually get to know them, love them, and continue to pray for them. My biggest challenge was praying for the abortionists that I accuse of wrongdoings and all the staff that turned their back on me. That was my biggest challenge, but I passed that. because we're the merciful side, right? Oh, wait. I'm telling you more.
We're also both Planned Parenthood Employees of the Year.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Tell them what
Yeah.
I decided not to do.
So we're both Planned Parenthood Employees of the Year.
And we strongly believe they stopped giving that award away. Like, it hasn't worked well for them.
Every Planned Parenthood Employee of the Year seems to become pro-life. So
Oh, okay, yeah. So now I work for this lady. She doesn't know what I do. I'm just kidding. She knows. I actually go around the globe taking our ministry. So because I've been very active, if my accent didn't give me away, I do speak Spanish. I'm Mexican. Well, no, I lied. I became American citizen last year, so I will be voting this year. So, because I speak Spanish and I get to go to other parts of the world where they don't hate me for being brown. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for the white race.
we love you for being brown.
No, they hate the white race, remember? You're hated in other parts of the world. Oh, there we go. No, what I'm saying is that in other parts of the world where they don't hate the American people so much, no, where they welcome the Hispanics a lot, right? So we're starting to bring our ministry to other parts of the world globally to help other former abortion workers there heal and leave the industry. So that's my job. My job is to connect with places that are willing to help people the way so many of you have helped them here in the United States, because we have the best pro-life movement in the world. I'm going to say that. I have traveled, guys. I can tell you. And that's my job. And then there were none, besides doing many other things like hanging out at the booth today and talking to a lot of you.
We're international, baby.
Yes, we are.
It's going to be hard to top that one, but my name is Kara. I'm also a former Planned Parenthood employee. I was not Employee of the Year. I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know what that means, but it is true. Most Planned Parenthood employees, I feel like, choose life eventually, so thank God for that. I was at Planned Parenthood in Connecticut for about 3 years until God saved me, and now I'm the center director of a CareNet pregnancy center in Florida. Thank you.
I'm Caroline Straczynski, and I started out in a private clinic as a recovery room nurse, and then went on to work for Planned Parenthood for about 15 years. In that time, I went from nurse, HIV counselor, STD examiner, to women's health nurse practitioner, and then I became a mom, I became a Christian, and I started to see things through a different lens, and I resigned. And I was lead clinician, and I think I was Employee of the Month, at least once. But so I left Planned Parenthood, and I went on to other work, but it was still similar to like any other routine GYN office. And so then I started to look at contraceptives in a different light as well. When I was seeing frequent infection, tears, discord, disruptive lives, so I decided to go on and become a Creighton fertility care practitioner and a Creighton nurse practitioner. And I'll be going back to midwifery school so I can bring this thing full circle pro-life.
Well, hello, everybody. My name is Lupita Aguilar. I am from Southern California. There, I, fortunately, I was working for Family Planning Associates for about 3.5 years as an ultrasound technician. Just like Kara, praise to God, he plucked me out of there because he knew I would have not left. So he saved me, he saved my soul, he's saving my family. And just as he saved me and my family, I too want to help him save those lost souls that are so many around us.
So I'm ready to do the work.
Okay, so who wants to tell everyone about, like, what do you think is one of the biggest lies that the abortion industry is telling women from your insider perspective? Go ahead.
I would say that it's a quick fix. That if you get an abortion, your life will just go right back to normal. Your life will never go back to normal. The pregnancy in your womb can never be undone. Whether you continue on as a parent or you terminate the pregnancy, you will always be a parent. And so the abortion clinics likes to tell you that it's just easy. An unplanned pregnancy is something that can just be easily undone, but they don't inform their clients and patients of the years and years and years of physical, emotional, and spiritual damage that comes along with that.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything?
Similar to what Kara said, I just think the whole piece about not having any regret, there seems to be a bit of a timeline, and this is just me speaking from my clinical practice, but maybe in the first 5 years, especially if she's a student, she's pursuing her career, so maybe she's somewhat distracted. But then it seems like when the 10-year mark comes along, and I'm doing those histories and seeing those ladies, like maybe they're trying to start a family or what have you. And by the way, 1 in 5 couples struggle with infertility. A lot of people don't know that. We focus so much on unintended pregnancy, but there's a whole group of people trying to conceive. But there is this regret that happens at about the 10-year mark when they're trying to like build a family or seeing others build families around them. So society's we're a little off when you think about it, because yes, we want women educated, we want men educated, we want people to pursue their dreams, but to think that you can't do it without abortion is pretty wrong. And to consider that we're not becoming any more fertile as we get older, you need to take that into consideration as well.
I think to me the biggest lie that I sold the client for 16 years while working on the non-abortion facility was telling them that abortion was safer than carrying a pregnancy to full term. That's the one that when I became the director and realized that was not true, that I was telling lies, that was the biggest lie, telling them it's safer for you to have an abortion than have the baby.
Yeah. So I think if, you guys, you're seeing it on social media, you're also seeing it in just TV shows, movies. Abortion is portrayed as normal, right? But it's really portrayed as 3 things. It's portrayed as bloodless, painless, and sterile. I watched a clip from a TV show, I don't even know if it's still on, but a TV show called Scandal. And it was a clip of a woman, the main character, having an abortion on Christmas Eve. And we did perform abortions on Christmas Eve. We performed abortions all holidays and all kinds of days. But she was having an abortion on Christmas Eve. She's in this what looks like hospital type of room, having this first trimester abortion. And in the background, Silent Night is playing while she's having this abortion. You watch movies, what was that movie called? That one. What was it called? Never, maybe, sometimes, always. Okay. That, she goes into the abortion clinic, and it's this awesome looking abortion clinic, right? Abortion is made to seem like it is this empowering, amazing, seamless, easy procedure with no consequences, and it's done in these pristine, amazing facilities that are so clean by all, well-educated, medically qualified staff, Okay? So, question for the panel. Is abortion bloodless?
No, definitely no. I mean, the amount of blood that some of those patients lose, especially on the abortion pill, right? Getting those phone calls in the middle of the night and saying, I have gone to 4 pads in less than an hour. They're all soaking wet, and I cannot stop bleeding. You know, watching the amount of blood get suctioned by the aspiration machine and jars at the end of the day of blood, it is not bloodless. And especially when you watch the puzzle of the baby part in a tray being put together to throw in a Ziploc bag. It's not bloodless.
Yeah, absolutely not bloodless. I just remember chuck after chuck after chuck that we had to throw on the floor to soak up because she was hemorrhaging or simply just because she was bleeding a lot. I remember having to do an ultrasound right after the procedure, a transvaginal ultrasound. So my probe, although it had protection, it was still absolutely bloody when it came out. And even just with that, it's like as if it created a suction where more blood came out, right? So it's just like these pools of blood. And in the OR room, these surgeons, these nurses scrub up. They put on their booties, they put on their hats. They're protected. We're not. All we had was our scrubs. That's it. We didn't have anything to protect us from any bloodborne pathogens that maybe this gal could have been carrying. So, yeah, sorry, this is my first time ever speaking, so it can trigger a few things. It's going to be pretty raw for me. I appreciate that, but yeah, it's definitely not painless, bloodless. Yeah.
So talk about the pain. What did you see? I mean, women are in there. Sometimes they get sedation. Sometimes they don't. Even with the sedation, in my facility, women are still screaming from the pain. Talk about that. Talk about the physical pain of abortion that you saw in your clinics.
So I wasn't always in the surgery room or in the procedure room. But I do, when I was in there, I do recall these young ladies, I would just see tears coming out of their side of their eyes because I can see in their face the pain that they were going through. But for whatever reason, it was like a silent cry. Some of them just couldn't tolerate it. Literally, they would scoot up the table. And us that were in there with the nurses, we would tell them, come back down, you can't move. The doctor's not gonna be able to do the procedure. So this poor girl, like, whose feet up were in the stirrups, we pull her down with the sheet, and she's just like helpless. She can't do anything. And it's up to this nurse to see if she can even give her a little bit more medication, but according to her weight and her size, her height, she can't. So now this young lady is struggling with the actual pain and then with the emotional pain that we can't see. So, yeah.
Something also, so in our clinic, the procedure rooms were on the opposite side of where routine visits were being seen, like STD screening and pregnancy tests. And oftentimes, the girls that couldn't afford sedation would be screaming so loudly that we could hear it on the other side of the center. And even the physicians in the center would say, oh, we got a loud one. And they would be told to be quiet. They would be told we don't want to upset the other girls in the center, with complete and total disregard for what this girl is going through right now, and also not preparing them for what they were about to go through. Most girls can't afford the sedation if they don't have insurance. And I would say that we did a very poor job of informing them what they were about to go through.
Now let's talk about sterility. Let's talk about the cleanliness of the facilities. We have a website called checkmyclinic.com where we, FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act, we request inspection records that are available, all the inspection records that are available from the abortion facilities that are inspected. About half of the states in the United States, this is terrifying, half of the states in the United States do not require abortion facilities to be inspected. Okay? Nail salons in every state are required to be inspected. Food establishments in every state required to be inspected. Hospitals required to be inspected. Tanning salons, every state required to be inspected. Tattoo parlors, piercing studios, every state required to be inspected. But in about half the states in the United States, abortion facilities, these facilities that are performing surgical procedures on women, are not required to have any kind of inspection. Okay? But the ones that are, those inspection reports are supposed to be available to the public. Sometimes they make it very difficult for us to get them. They're not supposed to, but sometimes we have to get attorneys involved to get the inspection reports that are supposed to be available for public access. When they make it difficult, we know that it's because they have a failure and they don't want the public to see it. Particularly in New York, they make it very difficult. But we have received all of those, and we have them up on a website, checkmyclinic.com, and you can see those things, guys. There are facilities that have failed their inspection every single year for 5 years or more, and these facilities are still open. They're not properly sterilizing instruments that are going into the bodies of women, from women to woman. They're not properly sterilizing the instruments. Not properly reporting statutory rape. There was a facility that had a rat hole in the floor of the procedure room where they were doing surgical abortions, and the inspector could see the rat droppings in the floor right next to the bed where they're performing abortions. And they allowed that facility to stay open. So, do any of you have experience with just disgusting sorts of practices happening inside of your clinic, unsterile instruments or not reporting or anything like that?
Well, in Arizona, where inspections are supposed to be required for abortion facilities, the inspector actually called me to schedule their inspection, to give us time to get ready. She will say like, so we will be there next Thursday between 9 and 12. Will that work? Yeah, that will work. You're giving me a week, right? And we're going to look for this, and that. So then it gives us time to get ready and prepare and get the lawyers involved to check the chart that they were going to check and make sure they were perfect charts and make sure that everything has done perfect.
Because they allowed you to pull your own charts.
They allowed us to pull our own charts. They allowed us to pull all the stuff that she's going to check for. And obviously, it's the moment to inspect and hide away what they're not supposed to see. So that was shocking to me as an abortion director, because when I run the facilities that were non-abortion, she showed up whenever she wanted to. She never scheduled them with me. So I was shocking to see that in an abortion facility, she will schedule that inspection.
Yeah. All right, so we want to open up the floor to you guys. We have about 30 minutes left, so we want to take time to answer questions that you might have. So if you have a question, please just line up in the center aisle, and we will answer those questions one at a time. Hi, Dr. Monique.
Hey guys, I love all of y'all so much. I'm Dr. Monique Ribeiro, pro-life OBGYN. The one thing I get the privilege of leading 40 Days for Life outside of the downtown Philadelphia abortion centers. And we've always heard from Abby, from other abortion workers, that when there are people praying outside, that the numbers go down. And sometimes it's hard to see that because we just keep seeing this steady stream of people going in. And so if you guys could just give us a little bit of information of what you're seeing on the inside when there are people who are peacefully, lovingly praying outside.
So for me, unfortunately, I did not see any peaceful praying outside. It was a lot, you murderers, you guys are all going to hell, this kind of stuff. So it was sad that I actually didn't get to experience that or see that. So our numbers would not decline. They were pretty consistent.
When I was at the private clinic, they had the parking lot so that really I like to call myself a protester too. So I'm not against the protester word. I've kind of invited it myself because I've been on the sidewalk and the lady's like, "Are you here as a client or a protester?" I'm a protester. So the protesters, as we're called, really couldn't get to any of us as workers or the patients with the way things were set up. I remember only 2. So I would invite you all to sign up for 40 Days for Life because we really do need to represent. At Planned Parenthood, we didn't provide direct abortion services, so I never saw a protester outside of our Planned Parenthood.
I am in Connecticut. It's a mostly liberal state, but I will say I also saw like violent protesters, and at our surgical center, I never saw one person praying. So I am sad to report that. So as scary as it may feel, do go pray for them because they really need your prayers. So I don't have a statistical answer for that, but I just encourage all of you to pray for them.
Yeah, in my case, I did see a lot, especially this lady that has been praying since Roe v. Wade in 1973. She's known all through the United States because her husband was famous baseball player. He won the World Series with the Mets. So she traveled with him with the baseball team, and she prayed outside of Planned Parenthood and FBA and other abortionists throughout the country. And, you know, I met her when I first got my job, and I remember her saying, "Don't go in there, I'm going to help you." And I actually did the opposite. I rushed in. I'm like, "Okay, crazy lady, bye." And then 17 years later, when I took over the abortion facility, I'm like, "She's crazy, she's still here." Man, right, I can give it to her. But I remember that at the beginning, she would be like, "I'm praying for you, Myra." And I was like, "Well, you don't need to. I don't need your prayers. Go pray for your family. That's what you should be." Really rude. And eventually, as I started seeing what I was seeing, I started softening up to the point that we became friendly. Now we're great friends. I see her once a month. We have lunch. I am here thanks to the prayers of all the people on the sidewalk, and I saw many patients turn away, many employees not start their job because of those people on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I would say it's 2024. We're in an election year. You know, we're in a movement that focuses a lot on politics. And I'm just going to sit up here and tell you, do not put your eggs in the political basket. Just don't. The political basket will continue to fail you over and over and over again. Politicians will fail you. All of them. Because there's only so much work that a politician can do. The only person that we need to count on in this movement is Jesus Christ. And He is the one that is warring this battle for us. He is the one that is fighting this battle for us. But he needs us to be his hands and feet. And so if you are constantly waiting on, this legislative cavalry to come up over the hill to save us from abortion, guys, that's never going to happen. If there is one thing that you should have learned from the overturn of Roe, is that legislation is not going to save us on this issue. Every single battle initiative that has come forward at the state level after Roe has been overturned has failed. Because politics is not going to save us. Changing hearts and minds is going to save us. And eventually, if we change hearts and minds, maybe we can get the law to come around. Maybe. But we have got to change hearts and minds. We've got to start saving babies on the front line. And how do you do that? You've got to be there where these abortions are taking place. Abortions are not taking place in the White House. And they're not taking place in the halls of Congress. They're not taking place in your state capitol. They're taking place in your communities, in abortion facilities, right down the roads from where some of you live. That is where you need to be. That's where your hearts need to be. Volunteer in those pregnancy centers in your communities. Go out to those abortion facilities. That's where you need to put your focus. Who cares what a politician says? They're lying to you probably. Politicians have raised a ton of money off the backs of aborted babies. Don't believe them. Believe what the Word of God says. Believe what Christ is telling you to do. He is telling you to go and stand up for the least of these. Go out to where these abortions are taking place and take your stand in the name of Jesus.
Hi, my name's Samantha. First, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here today, sharing your personal testimony. My question actually kind of relates to something Abby just said in regards to ballot initiatives, 2024 presidential elections. Obviously, what happened in Ohio, California, Michigan really struck a blow, I think, to a lot of pro-lifers. I was just wondering, going forward, what should the pro-life movement strategy be, and what role would the personal testimonies of former abortion clinic workers play in changing hearts and minds, do you think?
I think the Achilles heel in the pro-abortion movement is the workers of women is a testimony of women like this. We have all seen, those of us that have come out of the abortion industry, we know literally where the bodies are buried. We've seen we know all their dirty secrets. We know what's happened, and the women that come up on these panels, the women that are speaking out, they're the heroes. They're the ones that are courageously willing to put a face to these stories, and they're out here sharing what needs to be shared, and there's such power in testimony. And, God blesses those testimonies. And so I think that is the Achilles heel. I think we've got to start sharing. All of us, I think people who have had abortions and people who have worked in the industry, those are the two most powerful groups of people in this movement. The pro-life movement is made up of converts. People who once believed the lie of abortion and have now been set free by the truth. And those stories are so powerful. And hopefully, the film that we have coming out, our ministry has coming out called Unthinkable. In the summer, it will be before the election. Hopefully, just like Unplanned, it will shake the foundation of the abortion movement, and it will open eyes to what's really happening inside of the abortion industry, inside of these facilities. Many of the women that are up here shared their testimonies in Unthinkable. And so we're hoping that it will really help to shape not only just kind of the consensus around what people think about abortion, but also it will help to bring about some sort of strategy in the pro-life movement of how we go forward. I think that we are really living in a time where there's a lack of knowledge about abortion. You know, when that whole Kate Cox thing happened, y'all remember with the baby at trisomy 18? And she was fighting to kill her baby with trisomy 18 in Texas. And, you know, everybody kept talking about, oh, Kate Cox, she's got to be, oh, so much suffering because she can't kill her baby. Poor Kate Cox, poor Kate Cox. And I kept thinking, what about her baby? Poor 22-week-old baby that is going to be literally torn limb from limb in his mother's womb. That is suffering. That is real suffering. But every single journalist that contacted me and asked me to give a story about that, asked me to give a quote about that story, I ask every single journalist, do you know how a 22-week-old baby is killed? Not one of them knew. We have got to get back to some basic, very basic education about prenatal development, what happens in the womb, and abortion. Just basic education about abortion. In fact, our intern, Emily, wherever she is, Emily, she did just like a video on TikTok. Like we do all kinds of cool videos on TikTok. She did on TikTok about basic prenatal development, like a baby's heartbeat, 21 days post-conception, whatever. It went totally viral, millions of views. Like we can do the craziest stuff on TikTok that I'm like, this is totally gonna blow up. And it gets 200 views. She did this just very simple, basic fetal development thing, and it millions of views. People are desperate for this information. They are desperate for the truth. They're desperate for this education, and you guys are the people that need to be getting this education out to the public. That is what changes minds. Information is power.
Hello. Thank you so much for being here again. We're so lucky to be able to be in to hear your stories, and thank you for all the goodness that you've done. My name's Allison. I'm from Michigan. My question for you is, you mentioned, Mrs. Johnson, you mentioned briefly how the media portrays abortion and aftercare, and it reminded me in particular of a film that came out a couple years ago called, I believe it was Unpregnant. And one scene that struck me in particular was the quote-unquote aftercare, I guess you could call it, after the abortion, how they were like, it almost looked like a spa day. How would you describe how women are treated after an abortion in like a typical Planned Parenthood environment? Do they get that kind of care, and do they receive any kind of like mental health help or therapy?
So we can all kind of speak to that, but in my clinic, they had 15 minutes if they were not sedated to suck it up and get out of the clinic. They were given either juice or water, whatever they chose, a little Dixie cup of juice or water, and 2 saltine crackers. And they had 15 minutes if they did not get sedation. They had 20 minutes if they did. If they were crying, didn't matter. They had to dry their tears and be out in 20 minutes. Because we had too many people coming through, and we needed that recliner for another patient. So there was no like extra care given. There was no like, oh, let's talk about it. No. They had to get out. That's the way it was in our facility. We had no aftercare referrals, no mental health referrals, none of that. Because you are going to be fine after your abortion. Certainly. You're not going to have any regret. You're not going to feel sad. You're going to be totally fine. And you are only going to feel relief. So why would you need any mental health referrals?
So being in the recovery room, everybody does cry. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say everybody, because I guess there's always that rare person. But in my experience, I don't remember anybody who didn't cry. You have such a shift in dynamics when your body goes from being pregnant to no longer pregnant. It's fast. And it's faster than I think some of these people even expect it to be. And there's not much time to think about it, because it is one of those things where we're doing Okay, ensuring that someone isn't hemorrhaging, because of course that needs further care. Sometimes the women have to go back in for another surgical procedure. Vital signs, like Abby said, a little snack. We're doing a pad check. We're doing some brief aftercare as far as what to look out for infection, or if you are in a hemorrhaging situation. And it is like, it's a rotation. It's out the door. An abortion is like every 5 minutes. In the recovery room, I had all these. Nobody was separated. It was chaise lounges, and everybody was there, and I could educate a group of women at a time, and then we would exit them. And it's a quick turnover. It's fast. They schedule a lot of people on an abortion day.
Hi, thanks again so much for being here, guys. My name is Julia, and I work at a pro-life pregnancy center. I conduct abortion information sessions and options counseling with our women seeking an abortion. And in the information binder that we go over with our clients, we tell them that they have 2 abortion options. They can choose the local numbing agent or the IV sedation. Both of those options numb the patient during the procedure. I've had several women ask me, am I going to feel pain during the surgical procedure, or is it just painful recovery? And so I tell them, like, you shouldn't feel pain during the surgical procedure, as you'll be numbed. Am I incorrect for telling them that? As I remember you saying, you saw like the women like physically like trying to get away from the catheter from being in physical pain. So I just wanted to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, that's called a paracervical block, what you're talking about, the numbing injection. There's great, amongst abortionists, there's great debate over whether they should even be giving a paracervical block, because it absolutely does nothing to help numb the cervix during the abortion. A lot of abortion doctors don't even do a paracervical block anymore. Some of our abortionists did, and some of them didn't, and I can tell you, it made no difference whether they did or whether they didn't. The cervix has one type of pain, and it's cramping. So, like, if you put a lighter up next to a cervix, you're not going to be like, ooh, my cervix is hot. You're going to be like, ooh, my cervix is cramping. It has like one pain receptor, right? And that's cramping. So it cramps when they put the needle in, it cramps as they're giving the injection, and it cramps as it's dilating. So it doesn't matter. The lidocaine they have not found it to be helpful. So it's incredibly painful. The most telling thing about whether a woman, whether it's going to be painful for her, is how many children she's had. So a woman that's had many children, generally her cervix is not green. It's more pliable, it's softer. So it's probably not going to be as difficult for her. But a woman who's never had children, her cervix is never dilated, her cervix is still green, that's going to be very difficult for her in general. That's not always the case. But yeah, I would absolutely not tell women that the paracervical block stops the pain. And the sedation does not stop the pain. The only reason they give them the sedation, most commonly, they give them a combination of fentanyl or Versed in the IV. They give it to them orally. They usually give them Valium. The only reason they do that is because that medication provides an amnesic effect. It's not for pain. It's because it provides an amnesic effect so the women won't remember what took place in the room. Caroline can talk more about this. She's the actual medical person.
Well, she took my words. But, so yeah, I mean, no, I've never seen a patient go through, did you do doula work in the, okay, so she could talk about her role and what she experienced with the doula piece, but I never saw a patient who came through and was just like, no big deal. Never. I mean, it's crampy. It has to be. There's a prostaglandin release. So the IV sedation, yeah, it just helps them be kind of just floating along, but they still feel pain, but then they forget about it later. You're thinking like the lidocaine? The lidocaine in the cervix? Yeah. So like when you go to the...
It's a combination of a couple things.
So think like when you go to the dentist and they numb your tooth, it's a local, but the uterus has 3 muscles and it's cramping back down to size. So you're not numbing the uterus.
Right, and I'm sorry, y'all. The most painful part of the abortion is actually not the dilation. The most painful part is when they're actually doing the suction, when they're sucking the baby out. That's the most painful part. That's when the women are screaming, is when the suction turns on and the suction starts. That's when the women start screaming. So it's the actual suction. You can't numb the cervix. I mean, you can't numb the uterus. You can try to numb the cervix, even though it doesn't work. But the uterus is not going to be numb. And that's what's really painful for them.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. My name is Lisa. I'm just wondering if any of you, I know Abby's story of when you, well, I saw the movie. I read your book. But anyway, was it a gradual realization or a sudden seeing the light when you decide, I've got to get out of here, I've got to stop? If any of you would like to tell your story.
Mine was sudden. I was in the midst of doing the training for the Nexplanon implant. It's a contraceptive implant that goes in the arm. So I had gone to one of our sister affiliates because, like I said, our Planned Parenthood that I worked for didn't do a direct abortion services. But we had been merging in the state of Ohio, and so I went to one of the sister affiliates to do the training. And so it had been about a decade since I'd been in direct abortion care, and I found myself conflicted en route to the abortion clinic to do those procedures. And then when I went into the abortion clinic, seeing the ladies, I no longer just saw the woman and her circumstance, I saw the life within and the generational impact. And talk about lost. Here I am in the midst of this. I prayed, because I felt like that was the only thing I could do. God's presence was palpable. I walked through and I heard and saw things, and those are details I don't share. Very, very close few people know those, so they won't be coming out. I'm sorry, I'm not going to share that with you. But I saw some things, unthinkables coming out. You'll see much more. You can get the gist of things with that one. But I never did any of the procedures. I looked at my manager and I said, I've seen enough and it's time for me to go. So I knew at that moment I would be resigning from Planned Parenthood without a plan. You know, I knew that that was going to happen. On the ride home, even more details came out. I learned that the manager's meeting was about quotas. And I learned that, you know, I had asked, are the quotas going down? Because I'm thinking I'm doing this great service of contracepting the world, right? And so these numbers and quotas are going to go down. We're going to put ourselves out of business. No, the goal is for the quotas to go up. I'm like, how can anybody be behind that? I don't care how pro-choice you are. To expect women to go through abortion and have quotas go up, that's insane.
Mine, I guess you can say, was both. It was sudden and then gradual. But because I was terminated from the clinic, it was sudden, right? I had to leave. That was it. That was in October of 2018. December 2018, I had my encounter with Jesus. But it was about a 4-year journey to come to the light and really see this pro-life. That pro-choice wasn't really a choice, because I would often think to myself, is abortion really that bad? You know, like, I know I stayed in the industry because I didn't value my own life. I did not love myself. I had a lot of issues in life, and I thought to myself, well, if this baby can be saved from all of this hurt in this world, it's better for that baby. So the Lord was gracious with me. He walked alongside me, and he showed me, and now I'm really here wanting to save the mother, the father, and the baby.
Hello, ladies. Thank you for being here. So I wanted to ask, what can we do as citizens to ensure that these abortion clinics do get sufficiently inspected so that we can properly shut them down lawfully?
Oh, well, I said I was going to take it away from her. Well, it will be great if our politicians did the job, right? Arizona was a very conservative state up until 2 years ago, as most people know, 3 years ago, right? And I can tell you that we had very tough laws in our state and still don't want to enforce them, right? Unfortunately, all these ballot measures that are coming in all those conservative states are actually telling them that an abortion facility no longer will need to be inspected. So we're going to the opposite direction. So most of the ballot measures that had passing in this state said that they're reducing inspections on abortion facilities. So it will go back to our fate. It's on politicians for this case. It's on passing legislations that will not only encourage but enforce these inspections. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, it's a state issue. And we have, a lot of us have crappy state politicians. And even in Texas, where we have a lot of good ones, it's up to the Department of State Health Services, it's up to DSHS. So if DSHS isn't going to do their job, like they can go in and inspect like they do in Texas, but then nothing gets done. So like over and over again in Texas, we have the same clinics failing their inspections, but there's no penalty for it. And that's the problem with the law. So if you have a law, but there's no penalty, it's just words on paper. And that's how the majority of our pro-life laws are. There has to be a penalty for breaking the law.
Hi, my name is Morgan. I'm from Illinois. My question to you is, who is the most memorable woman that you've met while working at Planned Parenthood?
Memorable woman?
Yeah, the most memorable woman or patient that you met while there after you performed an abortion.
There's always one. And this is a very, very tough, tender question that you've asked. So I had a young lady who was 15 weeks. This was when I was at the private clinic working as a recovery room nurse. She was 15 years old, I'm sorry. And she had come back a couple times over 2 weeks, and she was 19 weeks along. And I'll just never forget that baby. And when we go through the, and then there were on healing retreats, some of what we do is some mental health for ourselves. In abortion, anybody who's worked in the abortion industry and comes out, especially if they go pro-life, I would say, especially if you have any sort of faith foundation, you know, leading you a moral compass, and you start to see things through a different lens, you're going to need some TLC yourself to heal. And so Abby coming out and doing what she did to create this ministry, part of what we do in that ministry is heal from that one, because everybody remembers that one, and we put a name to that one, and we pray for that one, and that's a big piece of our healing process. So yeah, that's a tender question. That's okay. I've been doing this a while, so I can hang, but.
In my case, there's lots of them. There's so many, but when we did go to our healing retreat, Abby did ask us, I want you guys to put a number to the amount of abortions you were part of. That, to be honest, was overwhelming because I had never thought of that. Let me put an actual number to the babies that I participated in murdering. The fact that I said I'm an actual murderer, that was one thing. And then to add an actual number to it, it was overwhelming. So, like, I know there's the girls that I'll often remember, but it's also these babies, right? That amount that it's overwhelming. And I took another healing class where it was with ladies who had an abortion, right? And they said 1, maybe 2, and then I come up with my number. And it was it was so overwhelming. I just was sobbing like a little girl, you know, like, dear Jesus, forgive me. Forgive me for all of these babies that I killed, that are your babies, that I didn't see the value in them, or even in their mothers. I saw no value in the pair. So yeah, so it's more than just the mom. It's a package.
Do you have time for one more? No?
All right. Thank you guys so much. We are going to go to our table, the and then we're on table. I want to mention two things. Hold on. Two things. Our new project, Little Pills That Kill, it's the voices of these women and other women who are sharing truth about medication abortion pills. We also have another project that we just started at Pro Love Ministries, the other thing I run, and it's called All My Options. This is a great resource for you guys, young people. As you're talking to people, you go out in front of the clinics, you're on campus. This is a kind of a full service option website. So it has resources for transgender issues. It's got resources for pregnancy issues, sex trafficking, anything you can think of. There's resources on there. It's allmyoptions.com, I think. .com or org. I don't know. Allmyoptions.com. It's like a holistic website. So you'll want to bookmark that on your phone because it's really, really helpful. It's so helpful. I don't know the website. No, it's really helpful. It's a beautiful website and a really great resource for you guys. But please also check out our Little Pills That Kill. All that information, share it on social media. Go to our table if you have questions. They're going to be there, and we can answer more questions for you. Thank you guys so much. God bless you.